Robbery was the word of the summer, but VAR didn't rob nearly as many teams as the internet says, and the biggest controversy of the whole tournament wasn't VAR at all. We rank the real ones, debunk the fake ones, and end on the call that decided a World Cup final that no video review could touch. The 2026 World Cup will be remembered for a lot of things. A record 4.5 million fans, Spain, champions of the world, and one three-letter word that echoed out of every stadium, every studio, and every group chat on the planet, all summer long. VAR. Managers raged, federations filed formal complaints, entire nations went to bed convinced they'd been robbed. So let's actually rank them. Every VAR controversy that defined this tournament, from the ones that broke hearts to the one that broke a quarterfinal. But here's the part nobody else will tell you. Some of these weren't robberies at all, and the single biggest officiating moment of the entire World Cup, VAR wasn't even allowed to touch it. Stay to the end for that one. First, the heartbreaks that weren't actually robberies. Because if we're being honest, and on this channel we always are, 3 of the most furious moments of this tournament were the technology doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Start with Iran. Group stage, 1-1 with Egypt, 3rd minute of stoppage time. Substitute Shoja Khalilzadeh pokes the ball home in Seattle, and the place erupts because that goal sends Iran into the knockout stage of a World Cup for the first time in their history. And then VAR speaks. Offside in the buildup. Goal gone. Iran out. It was gut-wrenching. It was also correct. The line was the line. Same story for Croatia's cancelled equalizer. Offside, measured, gone. And the big one, Egypt, leading defending champions Argentina 2-0 in the round of 16 with 11 minutes left, dreaming of the greatest upset of the tournament. Mustafa Zico thinks he's put them further ahead. VAR rules it out for a foul in the buildup. Egypt then collapse and lose 3-2. Mohamed Salah was furious. The manager was furious. Half the internet screamed, "Fix!" But go frame by frame through the full attacking phase, and the foul is there. It was, by the letter of the law, the right call. Brutal? Yes. Robberies? No. Offside is a fact, not an opinion, and that distinction is the entire key to this video. Remember it, because now we get to the calls where it actually applies. Number 7. The goal that VAR let stand. Germany's night in reverse. Everything so far has been VAR taking something away. This one's the opposite failure, and it matters just as much. Germany, group stage against Ecuador. Barely 2 minutes in, Leroy Sané sweeps home a lovely first-time finish. The goal stands. The problem is what happened seconds earlier in the same move. A high boot catching Ecuador's Pedro Vite flush in the head. The kind of contact that in any other minute of any other game gets whistled instantly. VAR looked. VAR did nothing. The goal counted. Germany lost the match anyway, 2-1, so it didn't decide anything, but it's the perfect illustration of the whole problem. In one game, VAR erases a goal for a soft touch in the buildup. In the next, it waves through a boot to the head. Same tournament, same technology, opposite standard. Verdict? Not a robbery of a result, a robbery of consistency, which was the real crime all summer. Number 6. Ghana, denied against England, group stage. Ghana, chasing a result against England, go down in the box and look up for the whistle. Nothing. And here's what makes it a genuine grievance rather than a millimeter offside. VAR didn't even recommend a review. The on-field decision, no penalty, play on, was simply allowed to stand, with no second look at a contact that a lot of very qualified people thought deserved one. That's the thing about the subjective calls. Offside gets measured to the centimeter. A possible penalty gets a shrug. Ghana had every right to feel the standard bent depending on which team was asking. Verdict? Soft robbery. Not the technology's fault. The technology never got invited. Number 5. Harry Kane and the dive that wasn't. Round of 16, England against DR Congo. Harry Kane goes through on goal. Congo keeper Lionel Mpasi slides in, there's contact, Kane goes down. And the referee doesn't just wave it away, he implies Kane dived. He didn't book him for it, which tells you he wasn't actually sure, but he sold it as simulation to the watching world. VAR checked, VAR cleared it, no penalty. This one's fascinating because England spent the tournament on both sides of the bone. They also had a penalty handed to Jed Spence against Norway and then taken away again on review. But a striker of Kane's record being all but accused of cheating on a contact that replay showed was real? That's a subjective call dressed up as a factual one. Verdict: real robbery, the kind VAR exists to fix and chose not to. Number 4. The one nobody wants to say out loud, Messi. Argentina's opener against Algeria. Before Lionel Messi went and scored a hat trick to launch one of the great individual World Cups, Algeria were adamant he should have already been off the pitch. A challenge on an Algerian defender that they and a good number of neutral pundits felt was a straight red. No card. No review that changed anything, and Messi stayed on to win the game single-handedly. Now, was it a clear red? Reasonable people disagree. That's exactly why it's controversial and not clear-cut. But it fed the single loudest narrative of the entire tournament, the sense, fair or not, that the biggest teams and the biggest stars were reffed by a different rulebook. Hold that thought because it comes all the way back around in the final. Verdict: not a clear robbery, but the moment that lit the stars get protected fire that burned all summer. Number 3. Folarin Balogun and a red card that got unsent. Now we're in genuine injustice territory, and this one hits home for the host nation. Group stage, USA against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Folarin Balogun goes up for a challenge. His studs come down on Tarek Muaremovic, and the on-field call is a foul, nothing more. Then VAR gets involved. The referee is sent to the monitor, shown the contact in tight, slow-motion close-up, and out comes a straight red card for serious foul play. Here is the tell that it was wrong. Balogun's automatic suspension for the USA's next match was later overturned. Think about what that means. The disciplinary process looked at the same incident without the slow-motion drama and effectively said the red never should have happened. And that's the trap with VAR that this tournament exposed over and over. Slow any collision down far enough, zoom in close enough, and everything looks malicious. Real speed, real intent, gone. The monitor made a normal challenge look like a crime. Verdict: robbery, confirmed after the fact by FIFA's own appeal process. Number 2. Vinicius Jr. and a federation that put it in writing. Brazil won their group stage game 3-0 in Miami. You would think a team that won by 3 would have nothing to complain about. You would be wrong, because one of those goals never counted. Vinicius Jr. had a goal chalked off by VAR, and Brazil were incensed enough that this didn't stay a post-match grumble. The president of the Brazilian Football Federation wrote to FIFA, in writing, formally requesting, his words, consistent application of VAR intervention standards. That is a football nation the size of Brazil, coming off a win, so disturbed by how VAR was being used against them that they escalated it to the sport's governing body mid-tournament. When you win 3-0 and still file paperwork, the problem isn't sour grapes. The problem is that nobody could predict game to game when VAR would intervene and when it would sit on its hands. That inconsistency, not any single call, was the real scandal of 2026. Verdict: robbery serious enough to become an international diplomatic memo. And number 1, Breel Embolo and the quarterfinal that VAR rewrote. Switzerland, quarterfinal, against Argentina. Of course it's Argentina. Breel Embolo is on the pitch, and a VAR intervention leads the referee to show him a second yellow card, and off he goes. Switzerland in a World Cup quarter-final down to 10 men against the defending champions. Their tournament effectively ended not by the referee's own eyes, but by a screen on the touchline. The analysts who do nothing but break down officiating for a living ranked this the most controversial call of the entire World Cup before the final. And not because a foul was disputed, because of how far VAR reached to reinterpret a decision the referee had originally read completely differently. This wasn't correcting a factual error like an offside. This was video officials talking a referee out of his own judgment in a quarter-final against the tournament favorites. That is the nightmare scenario for VAR. Not the missed offside it was built to catch, but the subjective call it was never supposed to touch, deciding who goes home from a World Cup. Verdict: the robbery of the tournament. The clearest case of the technology overriding football judgment on the biggest possible stage. But here's the twist I promised you. The single biggest officiating moment of the 2026 World Cup wasn't any of these, and VAR wasn't even allowed in the room. The final, Spain against Argentina, MetLife Stadium, July 19th, 93rd minute. Argentina's Enzo Fernandez flies into a challenge on Spain's teenage defender, Pau Cubarsí, and the referee, Slavko Vincic, reaches into his pocket for a second yellow. Red card. Argentina, in a World Cup final they'd eventually lose, down to 10 men. The whole planet turned to VAR to save Argentina, and VAR could do absolutely nothing. Because a second yellow card is one of the few decisions the laws forbid VAR from reviewing at all. It can only step in for a case of mistaken identity, wrong player, not for whether the caution itself was harsh. So the biggest call of the biggest game of the tournament was made by one human being in real time with the whole world screaming and no monitor to hide behind. And the honest verdict? Most analysts said the red was deserved. Which is the perfect, brutal punchline to this entire World Cup. Because here's what actually happened this summer. Argentina spent a month accused of getting every 50-50, the Messi non-red, the Embolo sending off in their favor, call after call breaking their way. And then, in the one game that mattered most, the coin flipped. A borderline second yellow, no VAR to rescue them, and the defending champions went down fighting with 10 men while Spain lifted the trophy. The 2026 World Cup wasn't rigged. That's the lazy take, and it's wrong. What it actually was inconsistent. VAR swooping in to erase a goal in one game and vanishing on an identical foul in the next, correct to the millimeter on offsides, and completely lost on judgment calls. It got so slow and so uncertain that a single penalty review for Belgium against Senegal dragged on for more than 7 minutes. 7 minutes of a World Cup match spent watching officials argue with a screen. France needed a 3-minute check just to be given a penalty against Morocco. Halfway through the tournament, FIFA quietly changed the setup, moving VAR officials on site for the closing rounds, the closest thing to an admission that the system wasn't working the way it was sold. Robbery became the word everyone reached for, whether they'd actually been robbed or just outplayed. Some teams were robbed, Switzerland genuinely. The USA, on a red card FIFA itself, walked back. Brazil, enough to write a letter. But most of the robberies you screamed about were the line being the line. And the biggest call of them all came down to a referee, a red card, and a rule that kept the machines out entirely. So you tell me, which one still makes your blood boil? Drop your team and the call in the comments and be honest about whether you were robbed or whether you just lost. There's a difference. This whole tournament was about learning to tell them apart. This channel does the receipts, not the rage.